Hey everybody, today we're here to talk about the new Superman movie. Alright, it is 2025. James Gunn's Superman has just come out. I saw it last night on Saturday. I felt like I was the last guy to see it amongst my comic timing peers on friend group and stuff because people were going to the Amazon Prime screenings on Tuesday or they went on Thursday afternoon, for crying out loud. And here I am, a parent having to do shit during the week, work, for crying out loud, and did not have time to take myself to the movies. My wife, her favorite superhero is Superman. She likes Henry Cavill. She likes good looking guys, so Henry Cavill, Brandon Routh, so she's like, you have to wait for me. So she was working hard on Friday night, so we had to wait till Saturday. So I finally saw it last night. I'm recording this on Sunday, the weekend the movie came out, so here are my thoughts. My wife Amanda and I were kind of not split on it, but we were kind of both in agreement of like, it was a good movie, it was entertaining, but we weren't wowed. We weren't like super excited for the Superman movie. So if you don't know, this is Superman 2025, directed by James Gunn. Previously, we had talked about it being called Superman Legacy, which, going with the film, like probably is a terrible title based on what is in that film. It's not really about legacy, but it's got David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Those are our main core three characters. You got Mr. Terrific also in there with Eddie Gathegi and Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, Isabella Merced as Hawk Girl, and you have, Anthony Carradine from Barry as Metamorpho, and you got Crypto the Superdog. Like, there's so many characters in here. Plus, you get the whole Daily Planet cast. So many characters in this movie that going into this movie, I had expressed some thoughts, not on this channel, but on the Comic Timing podcast that I do regularly with my buddy Ian Levenstein. Just that there's so many characters, I don't know how they're going to fit them all into this film. And I think they did that, but coming out of the movie, we were like, oh man, it didn't really feel to us like a Superman movie. It felt like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And I say that not in a way that's bad, but just that I guess I was expecting a bigger shift in tone and style from James Gunn, who I've seen multiple movies of his. Yes, I've seen all three Guardians of the Galaxy films. I've seen those. I've seen Slither. I've seen Super. And Slither and Super are two totally different films compared to what he did in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I know he's capable of dialing it up and dialing it back. I guess I was expecting a bigger shift in tone from the other James Gunn films I've seen. This felt way more like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie in terms of the amount of humor, the attitude of all the characters, and maybe I was expecting more needle drops than we got, which I'm glad we didn't get. But everything inside the movie felt like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of template, and I was just expecting to fill those slots. I got the humor, I got a little bit of snarkiness, I got some dumb characters, and the needle drops were the only thing missing. Does that make sense? So in terms of that, that's not what I wanted out of a Superman movie. That is what I want out of a James Gunn movie, maybe in the Guardians of the Galaxy mold, sure. But if you're going to say James Gunn is going to pivot from Marvel to DC, and he's going to head up a whole division, and he's going to be the new go-to guy, I'm going to expect a little bit more out of him as a filmmaker in order to give me something that's going to grab me and say, hey, this is something new, something different. I want to go along the ride for this for the next 10 years or 5 years, however long this lasts, and continue to see these stories being told. And I didn't really get that here with this Superman. I think a lot of it has to do with the writing. I feel like the actors were all great. I liked David Corenswet as an actor, as Superman. I loved Nicholas Hoult. I love the writing for Lex Luthor with Nicholas Hoult there. That was pure all-star Superman, just seething hatred for Superman and his superiority, just all over the film. It did not save it for the end of the film monologue, their confrontation, but it was all over the film. I love that. Lois, I thought, was really strong. I liked what they did with Jimmy. They gave him something to do as opposed to just being the kid photographer or anything like that. He's kind of a super sleuth because he hooks up with so many women, which is, a little bit weird in today's day and age, but okay. It's the reality of the dating scene, I guess. I've never been on any of these apps. I've dated the same woman for 22 years and married her, right? So no experience into that world. So maybe people who are in that world were more happy about those jokes or enjoyed them more than I did. So there's a lot of things to like here. I liked all the villains and everything. It was just, I think the writing, the tone of it, I wanted it to be a little bit more serious, a little bit more drama. One of the things my wife and I were talking about last night when we were talking about the movie is like comparing this to Man of Steel, which we both really enjoyed. There were heightened moments in Man of Steel where you really felt the drama of a scene or the danger of a scene. And in Superman, this film, I didn't feel that. It's hard to feel that for Superman, but you're supposed to feel it for other characters. And Superman was always, yes, he was hurt, in times in this film, which I do like that aspect of them expanding upon Superman and saying he can be hurt. He's not invulnerable per se. I like that idea, of introducing him with some sort of not invulnerability, but hey, he's just really, really strong. I like that aspect of it. But there was nothing where I was like, oh, someone's in danger or Superman's going to fail or, oh, this looks really bad for Superman. Like, and it does have to do with a little bit of the way that the stories are too. Like, the rift opening up in Metropolis does not compare to the fucking World Eater from Zack Snyder's movie slamming down and the visuals of everything going up and then going down and going up and then going down. Like that visual was more dramatic there, especially because they had not evacuated the city. Whereas in this movie, they're like, evacuate the city! And then just kind of split Metropolis open slowly and then put it back together. And so it wasn't as world-ending or dramatic and, I don't know. For another episode of Superman's Adventures, I think this movie fits that bill, if that's what you're looking for. But as a wow, whiz-bang opener for the new James Gunn, Peter Safran DCU, whatever they're going to call this thing going forward, I don't know if it really fits that. I know the movie's done well so far this weekend. I think they're going to continue with this run. But I think they need outside collaborators to come in on James Gunn's ideas just to make the tone a little bit less James Gunny, I think. One of the things I love about the Batman films, whether it be Tim Burton's or Joel Schumacher's or Christopher Nolan's to even the new Matt Reeves film, is they all have a different tone. Even though some of them are tonally similar, like Batman Begins and the Zack Snyder stuff are really, really dark. They have a little bit of a different tone in terms of how they feel as a film. Like the Zack Snyder movies are not jokes, right? Like Batman v Superman, there's no jokes whatsoever. Batman Begins is serious, and so is Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, but they have Alfred in there to inject a little bit of humor. Even Maggie Gyllenhaal and her character injects a little bit of humor to it. Like, oh yeah, it is serious what's going on, but oh yeah, you can still make a joke about it. To whereas this James Gunn film, in terms of a Superman, was just like joke, which feels like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I felt like that was necessary for a Guardians movie because those were characters we did not know. And frankly, if you don't know Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, you've been living under a rock. You've never seen Smallville. You've never seen Superman and Lois. You've never seen Superman the animated series. Like, who are you and what have you done to your childhood, right? So I don't know. Maybe you're not a millennial, probably. So even then, I don't know that that's what you're looking for. So I think it has very strong moments. Just the James Gunniness of it all really took the film down a notch for me. And I think the writing and the storyline around it just was not like end of the world-ish enough. Does that make sense? Also, I'm a little tired. I've said this before of superheroes going against their double in the first movie. Black Panther, Killmonger, same suit, same powers. This movie ultimately ends up with a quote-unquote mystery, but they gave it away in the first hour of the film with Ultraman where they're like, it's coded. How'd he get in? It's coded to my DNA. Ding. Amanda, my wife, goes to me and she goes, are they doing Bizarro? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. And then boom, Ultraman turns out to be a clone of Superman. And it's like, all right, cool. Yet again, same damn character. Captain America doesn't do that, but there's so many other movies where the new superhero goes up against basically the alter ego, the evil version of themselves in that first movie, and then does something else a little bit differently in the second movie or something like that. And it's like, I'm so tired. Like, even though he introduced all these different things and created this world, I'm just so tired of this trope. Like, could Ultraman be anybody else? Could he have done anything else and had a different power set? I think so, and that would have made it 100% better. It's just, it was a little too cliche for me at that point. So I think those are my problems with the movie. The cliche plot in terms of who Ultraman is and that kind of thing. And, ultimately Luthor, it's kind of a joke at this point. Luthor also having a land grab idea. That was Superman the movie. Superman 2, he wanted to rule the world underneath Zod. And then he comes back in Superman Returns with, Brandon Routh in that film. And he was played, Kevin Spacey played him. And that was a land play to get this Kryptonite island and have that. And then here he just wants half of a country. It's kind of a joke, but man, I'm so tired of Lex Luthor being a joke. He wasn't a joke here, but that was kind of a joke thing with Lex Luthor. He's not that singularly focused on land, guys. I don't know where this is coming from. So I think those were my main problems with the film, and they just kind of degraded my enjoyment of the rest of it throughout, because I knew immediately, this is a James Gunn film. We're not changing the tone. You knew that from the first 30 minutes or so. The Ultraman thing was given away when he said, how did he get in? And then just the land plot of it all. It's just all right, I've kind of seen most of this movie before. And, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I think maybe I'll talk about this a little bit on the Comic Timing podcast. One of our buddies, Jamal Eigel, renowned artist, had said he had heard some things about who the villain was, and that did not come to pass. And so maybe that was affecting my enjoyment a little bit more, because I was expecting this, even though he texted us in our group chat, hey, someone lied to Jim Starlin. And we were expecting Mongol basically to show up at some point in the film, because someone had told Jim Starlin, who had then, told other people. I don't know. So it's oh, well, that's a bummer. So I was looking forward to that, that would be really cool if, and then that probably brought it down to me. So I am going to see this film again on Monday afternoon. I'm flying to Virginia for work in the morning. I have the afternoon and evening open, so if I can fit it in then, I will probably fit it in before we record for Comic Timing Monday night for that podcast. So I do know where my faults are and what I was looking for out of the film. So I'm trying to hold off on listening to other people's reviews and stuff like that, other than what I listened to before this film. Any spoiler stuff, I think I'm going to avoid that also. So I can go in with I know my problems with the film, and I don't want to be, altered by anyone's other thoughts for a second viewing. Does that make sense? So those are my problems with the film. Let's talk about the good. I think Mr. Terrific was a great character. I really liked Edie Gathegi in here. If you have not seen Startup, he is phenomenal in Startup. If you have not seen For All Mankind, he is phenomenal in For All Mankind. He comes in, I believe, he's definitely in season 4. I think he appeared in season 3 also. He's like a tech whiz, like a black Elon Musk in that show. Really, really cool character. He's a billionaire in there. And he is a phenomenal actor. Just seeing what he can do from Startup, where he's playing this down on his luck guy from the ghettos of Miami to, a gangster, and investing in a startup and then taking power and taking control of that company. And that 3-season show, it's got Adam Brody in it. It's very, very good. It was hot on Netflix for a little bit. I don't know if it's still streaming on there, but it's definitely worth checking out. Great show, great performance by Edie Gathegi, who played Mr. Terrific in this film. And then just For All Mankind, he goes from Startup to For All Mankind for 2 seasons. I don't know if he'll be in the next one. We haven't seen anything yet. But he's phenomenal in that show. I really love him. And so I really liked him as Mr. Terrific. I think my one complaint, though, is the mask. And like, I would just like to have a tone for the mask. I think it's naturally a little bit glossy, his T mask, and that's fine. I'm down with that. But in certain shots, it looks glossy, and in certain shots, it looks more matte, like not glossy. So I would prefer, if it's just me, a matte look, because it makes him stand out. If you're sweating or something like that, your skin gets a little glossy or whatever, and that would just stand out as like, here's something that's not glossy on a face that is, if you're outside, you're sweating, or you've got the light bouncing off your face, that kind of thing. You got a little bit of face oil, whatever, like look at mine, right? I think that would stand out greatly. And it was kind of all over the place in this film. It was like, what, can I make it out? Can I not? I was just judging that costume. But everything else about his costume I liked, other than the Justice League, Justice Gang thing in the middle. But I think he's a really cool character as portrayed in this film. I've never really like thought Mr. Terrific was that great up until this movie. So I'm really excited about that. I think what he brought to it and what James Gunn did bring to it with the writing made Mr. Terrific seem cool, and that's fun. The action scene with his T-spheres was way cool. I enjoyed that. And Lois just being wowed by Mr. Terrific, and it kind of surprised me how wowed she was. And, you know, maybe it seems like in this world, since super meta humans have been around for 300 years, that people are not wowed by superhumans anymore, so that they're just like, oh, it's old hat when someone in a costume shows up, as opposed to like, you know, wow, every time. So maybe she's just not paying attention to Mr. Terrific, and then finally when she got up close, she was like, oh, this is what this guy can do. Wow, that's really cool. So maybe that was that kind of reaction. I didn't understand Hawk Girl, Isabella Merced. She had a couple lines in this film, not a huge part, but I didn't really understand why she screamed like a hawk every time she attacked. Like, is that her thing? Is that just something that they thought was going to be cool? It didn't come off very cool. So kind of complaint there. Guy Gardner, I think Nathan Fillion for me is a little tiresome. So you had that. You have Guy Gardner, who's also kind of a tiresome character for me from time to time. I really liked what they did with him in the Green Lantern Corps run with Peter Tomasi and Jeff Johns and all the way throughout. That I did like, but I don't know, just this, maybe this was more of like the JLI version with Kevin Maguire art back from the late 80s, early 90s. I have not read a whole bunch of that stuff, so I can't say I'm a huge fan of this portrayal of Guy Gardner. More jokey than serious, whereas the ones that I've read, he's more serious because the Green Lanterns were in the shit when I was reading Green Lantern Corps, as opposed to just like, hey, we're just here to hang out. Did seem like Guy Gardner, but just a little bit different version. So I like the idea of the Justice Gang. I love the cameo from Peacemaker on TV. I really liked Michael Ian Black as this kind of smarmy TV host. I enjoyed that. Like, I do think that James Gunn did make all these characters work within the story. There's just really a lot of them. I think the only characters that he introduced that did not work for me were Ma and Pa Kent. Just Ma Kent yelling at the smartphone in the first scene and making Pa Kent like this ultra sap. Just like, I don't know. It's fine if you want to make that their characterization. Like, hey, you know what, Pa Kent? He seems tough. He's really a sap. But to make him like this ultra sap and just Ma Kent yelling it from the very beginning of when you meet him just kind of undercuts that idea of like, oh, this is really a really cool guy, a really nice guy or anything like that. It just makes him kind of the butt of the joke immediately. And then Ma Kent just being technologically innate or unenabled, whatever the word is, yelling at a smartphone, which, you know, okay, my parents are 70. They've had smartphones for 10 years. They know how to work them. Yes, they still text with one finger on their phones, but they are not like inept at smartphones. And I don't think any farmer in 2025 is inept at smartphones. Just me. I'm sure there's a couple of exceptions out there, but I didn't really like that joke aspect of their character. Like, hey, here's some people from Smallville, Kansas. They've never seen a smartphone in their life, and Clark bought this for them at Christmas last year. Like, come on. They've had cell phones for a while. Got to. So I didn't really enjoy that. And they were there for such a short period of time that it felt like they weren't necessary to the story. You know what I mean? And even Clark Kent himself didn't really appear. This movie is called Superman. It's not called Clark Kent. And we got a lot of the guy in costume, as opposed to some other films where, strictly like Batman films, you're getting 50-50 Bruce Wayne and Batman. This was definitely like 95% Superman and 5% Clark Kent. And I think my complaint about that is just I didn't get that they were two different people. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't spend enough time with Clark as Clark in terms of being in the world and the Daily Planet to see how he differentiates himself other than a messy curly haircut and glasses, which makes sense to me. But every time after that, he was with Lois, who knows him. So we're getting this, like, the third version of Clark where he's himself. But when he's Superman, maybe this goes back to the James Gunniness of it all. I did not think he was, like, respectable. Like, in some ways, in my mind, at least the way I've always read Superman is, yes, you have Clark Kent, the public-facing one with the Daily Planet. You have Clark Kent at home with Lois, and now John Kent, his son. And then you have public-facing Superman, who's kind of like puffing up his chest a little bit and not being infallible. He still can be, but he's not joking around all the time. Like, he's there to do a job. He is nice. He is caring. He'll save your cat from a tree, but he's not going to have some quick aside about, oh man, I'm such a jerk sometimes. Like, he might say that after he flies away to himself, but he's not going to stand there and say it. I think what I really enjoyed about not Lois and Clark, Superman and Lois, the new TV show that just ended in January with Tyler Hoechlin. His Superman to me was like really embodied those three sides. He was the father at home. He was Clark Kent, who was a little doofus, a little bit, not too bad, with the public. And then as Superman, he's Superman. He's serious. He's there to do a job. You respect him because he's fucking Superman. And I never looked at David Cornsweet in the costume to say, like, oh, I respect that guy. He's Superman. Like, he earned that 4-star general rank or whatever like that. You know, he's like, oh, it's Superman's here. Like, is he going to save the world? Is he going to have a hard time? And maybe that has to do with him being a little bit weaker in this film as to other films, but Cornsweet never had that aura around him as like, I'm here, everything's fine. It was always like, he was always struggling a little bit, which I don't mind Superman struggling, but he struggled all the fucking time. Like, even the kaiju, he shouldn't have struggled. I don't know. So I think that non-delineation of that third character of Superman, having had it yet, I think it brought the movie down for me. The engineer, I like the engineer. I thought she was cool. I did like that they gave her lines and that she had an actual character. She had a characterization, and she was frustrated with Lex at times and just wasn't just this like monotonous female robot with nanites that was doing things. She was like, hey, Lex, you're doing something wrong. And I did like the fact that they made Lex like this egomaniac that's, you know, does wrong things all the time. And people that work around him disagree with him all the time. I liked his like goon squad around him in that little headquarters and things like that. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed Eve Tessmacher. Like, she wasn't just a dumb joke. I liked the idea that like, oh, her selfies maybe were planned because they were, blackmail or whatever. I like that idea. So there's a lot of things to like and dislike about this movie. So I guess to end this review and stop rambling, I think if you like James Gunn, you're really going to enjoy this movie. But take it as a James Gunn movie. You know, if you take it as a James Gunn movie, I think you're really going to enjoy it. So I don't really know what angle I'm going to view it with on my second viewing, but I'm going to go in knowing like, hey, here are my problems, here are my things that I do like, and what can I find in between? And that's probably what I'm going to talk about on the Comic Timing Podcast when we record Monday night. So it'll be up probably Tuesday, what is that, the 15th? Something like that, of July 2025. So check it out. I'll probably link it below in the show notes once it comes out. So yeah, I would probably give this movie like a solid 3.5 out of 5. You know, that equates to like a 6 or 7 out of 10 scale. So I think that's where I'm at with this film right now after the first viewing. There's too many things that I have problems with to say this is a good or great film, like a 4 or a 5-star film. But it's, it's okay. It's not bad. So that's kind of where I'm at with the 3.5 out of 5 scale. So those are my thoughts on Superman. Was this long enough for you? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the movie or enjoyed this video. And if you did, let me know down below in the comments what your favorite part of the movie was, what your least favorite part of the movie was, and I'll discuss it with you down there. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.